11 weeks since I started with a fever and some of the symptoms of coronavirus. I'm Lucy Adams, a BBC correspondent. I've got a really hoarse sore throat, a headache. I got COVID last year, but never got better. I've been ill for I've been ill for 8 months now, and I'm getting really fed up on it. Like a million others in the UK, I have long COVID.
I've got a banging headache, I'm aching all over, I've got earache, sore throat, my chest is killing me. I'm absolutely exhausted.
I want to know why we're feeling so bad.
Just take some deep breaths in.
What's behind this baffling condition?
If we knew that, I feel like we'd have quite a lot of goodies to offer people to maybe, make them better.
And with fears of far more infections as COVID restrictions are lifted, will I ever get better? Hi guys, how was school? Did you?
Secret.
Oh, don't tell me that, don't tell me. I live in Glasgow with my husband Andy and daughters Nuala and Neve. He usually picks them up from school because I struggle to. I tend to go to bed sort of a few times each day. So when I'm up, I look fine, but I just sort of get more and more tired, and then kind of symptoms come in, so maybe start like sort of shaking. So I'm normally in bed between 1 and 3, and then I try and get up for the kids coming back.
So you're making this for Mother's Day, for Mummy's Day?
Sky, because my mummy loves birds and I'm doing birds with it.
She loves being outside, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Do you think Mummy gets to come out and run around enough with you?
No. Because sometimes she's in bed, sometimes she just walks.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one in the family who's ill. Do you stay in the head teacher's office at break time?
Yeah.
Why do you go to the head teacher's office at break time? Nuala, who's 8, also has long COVID. She has good days and bad days, with bouts of fatigue. An estimated 33,000 children in the UK have long COVID.
Pretty exhausted. Trying to hold down a full-time, quite demanding job. And then, obviously, just Lucy's illness is so unpredictable. Well, it's not to say that, but sometimes it's predictable in that you can be sure that she can do about a half an hour of activity, and after that she's just exhausted. So, oh, it's beautiful, Neve. Felt it then, lovely. Still running the back.
You sort of become a bit of a spectator. I feel much older than I am. So which is difficult, and it's really hard on Andy as well, because he's got to sort of juggle work and juggle being an entertainer and a cook, and then he gets worried because I do too much, and then my symptoms all flare up.
I just have to have every admiration for her, the way she's just psychologically handled it. Going from somebody who's out cycling to work every day, up mountains at the weekends, running around with the kids, to somebody who's got the activity level of maybe somebody 30 years older. Is that enough? That's more rice.
At least 1 in 8 people who get COVID go on to get long COVID. Most say it's had a big impact on their lives.
And I feel absolutely awful. I feel so sick. Start with a cold sore, my tongue's full of mouth ulcers. I was supposed to be doing 7-hour today and I've not managed it. I've had to get back in bed because I feel so sick. I just want this to end now. I've had enough.
Partner's gone out with a little one, and the very, very little one woke up very quickly. So give him some milk. He's very tired. See? Not very happy. However, I can't stand up or can't settle him, so I have to basically sit here and cry until Mummy comes back home.
Sometimes when I do activity this time, just making breakfast was enough. I basically get sort of my heart rate jumps up loads, and I get pins and needles all over my body, and I just feel generally unwell.
Today I'm struggling. I'm tired. I'm worried about returning back to work. I just want to get back and be a nurse.
Around 1 million people in the UK have long COVID. Studies suggest most are women. And at least a third, like Susie and me, have had it for more than a year.
Just going up my stairs. Tired.
Hey Susie, how you doing?
I'm alright, how are you?
I'm alright. I'm sorry I'm not there in person.
That's alright.
I'm too unwell to travel to Susie's, so we meet on Zoom. Susie is one of around 120,000 healthcare workers with long COVID. She's desperate to get back to the wards, but for now she can only do desk work from home.
I sometimes can't find the words, especially when I'm tired and quite fatigued. It's worse. But and I'll be like, I know the word. I can see it in my brain, that I just almost like can't pick it out and get it to come out of my gob. And it's really random, like one word, and I'm going to have to try and say it. I can't say.
1 in 5 people with long COVID struggle with memory, concentration, or brain fog.
I just kept on thinking, I'll be over this soon, I'll start getting better. And I actually one stage thought I was going complete and utterly balmy. Am I imagining this? Am I being a hypochondriac? So then I was driving myself even harder and harder to get better and push through those moments where you're completely exhausted. Other people just didn't get it. One person turned around and said to me, well, you go out to the shops, don't you? They didn't see the walking, and then the after effect. And it was just really, really quite upsetting at once. Like, you all right? Oh, bless.
Sorry. You're just describing it so well. Her story is so like mine, it's hard. I was so determined to sort of push on through, so I would do what I would normally do, so I would go for a bike ride. I'm really struggling to breathe, but I'm on my bike, I'm fine, I must be fine now. And then came back, my temperature was 103 and I had to go straight to bed. And you think, well, anyone who saw me on the bike ride would be like, well, she's totally fine, she looks fine. Today I've got an appointment at my local medical centre for a blood test. It feels really weird to be out of the house and to be filming again because I've not been working for such a long time. It's sort of a little bit nerve-wracking. I've already had 1 set of blood tests, a chest x-ray and a heart check. All of these came back normal. My heart's racing now. Upstairs. Should have taken the lift, but I'm really stubborn. It's thought several different things could be to blame for long COVID. organ damage from the original virus, the virus reactivating, problems with the immune system, or it could be a combination of all of these things. I'm still out of breath from walking up the stairs.
You just relax, okay?
Okay.
Don't be sharp scratch.
It's a new disease, so there aren't any diagnostic tests yet.
Listen now for me.
My blood test will simply rule out if there's anything else wrong with me. So I got my bloods taken this morning. Should have been a really easy, simple thing to do. It's like 5 minutes away, in and out, and I just feel completely and utterly wiped out. I get the results a week later. Again, they're all normal. Across the UK, governments have invested around £50 million in research into the disease. Professor Danny Altman has been studying viruses for 4 decades. His team is analysing the blood of people with long COVID to try to discover the cause. They suspect the answer is in our immune system.
These numbers are perking up a bit.
What are you?
The common denominator between the symptoms and wherever they come from, because if we knew that, I feel like we'd have quite a lot of goodies to offer people to maybe, make them better.
When you get a virus, your immune system creates antibodies to fight the infection, but sometimes this can go wrong.
I think you finished analysing the data then.
Surprisingly complex.
So what the team are looking for here is what's called autoantibodies, which attack healthy cells.
Non-protective pattern.
We know that in some people, when they get infected with coronavirus, the body can also generate antibodies against self-proteins or human proteins, and we call those antibodies autoantibodies, and they can be much more problematic. And in some cases, that can mean that the immune system actually turns on our own tissues or our own proteins, and can actually cause disease. And at the moment, we don't know whether autoantibodies are a feature of long COVID.
If the team finds signs of these damaging autoantibodies, then diagnostic tests and treatments could follow. But while we wait for science to catch up with this new disease, how long might our symptoms last?
Is this a 6-month problem or a 1-year problem or a 5-year problem or a forever problem? And none of us know. If you asked me to kind of, place my bets from things that I know about other related kind of post-viral immunological effects, I'd be disappointed if most people with long COVID weren't better or feeling quite a lot better within 2 or 3 years max. I hope.
That's a long time to feel as ill as many of us do. It could mean many thousands of people are off work for years, a significant impact on the economy and the NHS.
My guesstimate is that the healthcare needs for those people run into the billions, and it's not just the money, it's, which clinic will they be seen in? Who will the doctors be? Who will the nurses be?
As the interview ends, Nuala has some questions of her own about the illness she too has had to cope with.
Why did my body think COVID was still there?
So a good question. One of the doctors said to me that it was almost like a ghost of the virus in your blood system. I don't know, and they still don't know whether it was like the still live virus that was attacking your body, or whether your body itself got confused and sort of the immune system started attacking itself. So they can find a way of curing people.
You have makeup.
Do I? I do have makeup on.
Did you put that on so it didn't look like you were tired?
Yeah, I put the makeup on so I looked less tired and so I looked okay on camera. Too deep to make out his face. Long COVID means Nuala has struggled with full-time school. In April, she was admitted to gave her a device to help her with her breathing.
I've been quite out of breath when I'm like running with my friends and stuff. Like really fast to get out of breath, so this is to help because my lungs things aren't working or something.
Is that what the doctor said? Your lungs are not working properly. So this is to get them stronger again.
Mm-hmm.
And do you feel like it's helping?
You lose that spontaneity in your life. You cannot really decide, okay, today is a lovely day, I can go for a walk now, because whatever energy you have got, you have to plan it.
While some people may improve with time and rest, others may have organ damage that needs medical treatment. Ahma Totungel is a consultant anaesthetist. She got COVID in February last year.
I started having severe joint pain, heart racing, chest pain, difficulty breathing. I had a couple of days in the night, I woke up from sleep with intense chest pain. That really made me quite alert about this because I thought I need to get some more help.
Later, when Ahma had her heart monitored for 72 hours, it was discovered she needed medication. She's waiting for further tests.
She's unable to do much things around. That makes.
Yeah,
But it is the reality.
having a shower and he's standing there to make sure that I don't fall down. And by the time I come out of the shower, I'm breathless. Then he has to dry me out.
There's it's like a baby.
Yeah, look after me like a baby.
One study suggests that 4 months after first getting COVID, 2/3 of patients have some organ damage. For most, this had cleared up by the follow-up cyst. So what help is available to patients? Leicester was one of the worst hit cities during the first wave, and one of the first to open a long COVID clinic.
This is an appointment to see how you're feeling now, if there are any ongoing problems, if you need any further investigations.
I felt breathless, and I had a pain in my rib cage here.
The clinic has been open for 13 months and has seen thousands of patients.
Exactly what the problems are that you've been experiencing after COVID. And what job do you do?
Shift manager. I'm back on a phase return at the moment.
So the ongoing symptoms, you're left with fatigue, brain fog, numbness on your right thigh, hair loss. What about the breathlessness? Because you were saying it was really bad for those first couple of weeks.
I'm using a lot of my inhaler and I still do.
So this is Enya, one of our senior physiotherapists.
These persistent symptoms seems to be something that the virus has caused either in inflammation or autoimmunity or in other mechanisms, and that doesn't seem to matter whether somebody was hospitalised or not at the beginning, and that's why it's really important that we have equitable care for both groups.
At first, this clinic only treated patients who'd been hospitalised with COVID, some of whom had pre-existing health conditions. But now they're seeing patients who weren't hospitalised too.
We're going to discuss Samia this morning. I'll just take you through one at a time my questions for you.
We need expertise from different disciplines, so be that nursing, physiotherapy, occupational therapy, psychology, but also heart specialists, brain specialists, specialists in diabetes, so that we really put a package of care to help the person with all their different problems.
Okay, when you're ready.
But access to this kind of care can vary greatly, depending on where you live.
Wales, where I live now, doesn't have any long COVID clinics, and they're not planning to set me up either.
I've got appointments for with the respiratory clinic, and I've been waiting for this appointment for nearly 5 months. So I'm hoping that they'll be able to sort my chest out.
After the third referral, I was informed that the clinic was not yet running. I was being passed from pillar to post, and it was really, really confusing and a real battle, and one that was really hard to find.
I've been looking into where long COVID clinics are available. There are 89 in England, but some only accept patients who've been hospitalised, and there can be long waiting times. NHS England says it's invested more than £134 million in long COVID services. Neither Scotland nor Wales have specialised clinics. Both say they are strengthening existing services. Scotland is funding research. Northern Ireland's first clinics will open in October. I'm going through to Edinburgh tomorrow to get a brain scan, which is slightly daunting. I'm going to be part of a study looking at the impact on the brain of long COVID. So I guess I feel a little bit nervous about that. I'm hoping that they don't find any problem. Researchers at Edinburgh University are scanning the brains of 100 people with long COVID. I suffer migraines, vertigo and brain fog. Could these be signs of brain damage?
So can I get you just to walk backwards and forwards across the consulting room a couple of times? Just turn around and come back towards me.
So I'm quite conscious with the walk that I feel like it sort of looks a bit like I'm drunk or something, but I think that's just the dizziness.
I'd just like to touch my finger.
Professor Alan Carson is a leading neuropsychiatrist. Before the scan, he puts me through a battery of tests.
Go back to your nose. Just keep. I'm just moving my finger to make it harder.
His team are not just looking for signs of brain damage. They also want to see if our brains and bodies may be miscommunicating.
Dizziness?
Yes.
Any feeling of your heart pounding or racing?
Yes.
Nerves or feeling anxious?
Yes.
Ultimately, pain is only perceived in the brain. Temperature control for the body comes from the brain. Breathing regulation comes from the brain. Sense of balance comes from the brain. And all of these things can be distorted by brain functions.
I'm so exhausted after 4 hours of tests. I fall asleep in the exam room. Next is the brain scan. Eyes, frontal brain. This is our neck, C-spine. It's quite weird looking at your own brain.
Looking at your own brain.
Yeah.
But if you have to look at your brain, you want it to look like that, basically.
Okay, that's
so that's nice
reassuring.
and healthy looking. There's no sign of any damage to any of the white matter or anything. Although you've had a really rough time of it. I think most of the problems you've got should be reversible.
That's a relief. But what does he think is causing my symptoms then?
I think the constellation of symptoms you have is very typical of what people report with long COVID. You've clearly got a tendency towards a sort of breathing dysfunction. It's quite understandable given what a hard time you had when you were acutely unwell. And I think you've developed this sort of rather rapid, shallow pattern of breathing in the aftermath. That's important because it'll leave you feeling a bit breathless and it'll leave you feeling as soon as you start doing any activity.
This is a revelation for me. My poor breathing leaves too much carbon dioxide in my system, which could partly explain some of the symptoms, including headaches. He refers me for respiratory tests. Do you think that people with long COVID, overall difficult question, will get better?
Yes. I think the evidence is already emerging that the majority of people get better. There will be some people with post-COVID complications that will involve structural damage, whether to the brain, my area of interest, or whether to your lungs or heart, and there the outcome will be more variable. But I think for the majority of people, it's about a slow recuperation period rather than permanent sickness.
I finally got an explanation for some of my symptoms, but I still need more tests and may have to wait a long time before I get them. As the UK opens up, there are concerns many more people could be at risk of long COVID.
I was sort of aiming for somewhere with a bench, actually, to be honest.
COVID cases are rising fast. While the vaccine reduces serious illness or death, it doesn't stop all infections. And children and many young people haven't even been vaccinated.
One of the things we know for absolute certain is that long COVID can ensue from any form of infection. If we're heading into a phase of 100,000 cases per day in the coming months, and we're saying that 10 to 20% of all infections can result in long COVID, I can see no certainty that we're not brewing those long COVID cases despite having a vaccinated population.
But Professor Altman says there could be some good news from the early findings of his research. His team is analysing the blood of long COVID patients for signs of autoantibodies which attack healthy cells.
The pilot data we have says that you really can pick up different patterns of autoimmunity in people who have long COVID. So, start of the road, but we're quite chuffed about it.
It's only a small study and more research is needed, but having identified these autoantibodies, they hope it'll be easier to diagnose this form of long COVID in the future.
I'm famously optimistic, so I'd hope that within 6 months we'd have a simple blood test that you could get from your GP. And that, I think, could have quite a big impact for people who don't feel they've managed to convince their GP or access specialist care, because instead of being my word against yours, it has a diagnostic test.
It's been 16 months since Nuala and I got COVID. She's nearly back to normal. I've got more energy and have fewer symptoms, but I still wake up every morning with what feels like a horrible hangover. Not sure if I'll ever get back to being who I was before. And it's that uncertainty that's hardest to bear.
Tonight, when our British athletes faced a very different race to host the 2012 Games, Gold Rush, our race to Olympic glory, continues at 9 here on BBC One.